Welcome to the Bridge of Truth. This week, our search for the truth is going to move from the spiritual to something a bit more practical with the relationship miracle. My guest is Amy Sherman, and I'm really pleased to have you here on the show. Before we talk about the relationship miracle, tell me a little bit about your site, Courageous Loving. That's how we first got to meet.
Yeah. So I'm a marriage and family therapist, and my company or my practice, we call it Courageous Loving. So it's courageousloving.com, and that's mostly a blog right now. We have a new site under construction, we promise. And we do, my husband and I are in practice together, and we're Imago relationship therapy practitioners. Well, I'm an Imago relationship therapist. He's an Imago relationship coach, educator. Both trained in this work of Imago. And so we work with couples and individuals in helping people heal their relationships and transform their lives. We really are about transformation personally through relationship healing and growth.
So what exactly is Imago then?
Yeah, good question. Imago just means image in Latin. It's nothing crazy, I say to my clients when I'm explaining it to them for the first time. It's based on the work of Harville Hendrix and Helen LaKelly Hunt. They are authors of the book Getting the Love You Want, and highly recommended book. And they named their work Imago, meaning image. So what is this image thing? That we all have a subconscious like template in the back of, in our subconscious, wherever it is, right? Like there, our subconscious, that is really a kind of a conglomeration of what we've picked up from our primary caregivers mostly. Yes, it's about childhood. It is taking some psychological concepts that are grounded in, good history. I mean, Freud did, contribute some valuable things, like the concept of the unconscious, So yes, it's taking this idea that we do have something in our unconscious that's kind of like a radar that's going off when we're meeting someone or potentially dating someone. The theory is mostly about how people meet, like romantically, but the work can be used in other contexts.
You mean patterns that we've sort of have imprinted in us upon which we judge?
Yeah, and a lot of it is subconscious, so it's like, I mean, I could go right into explaining, I might as well go right into explaining that, so, has anyone ever, I say to my clients, has anyone ever had the experience where you were maybe physically attracted to somebody, maybe even from just across the room? I mean, maybe a movie star, like whatever, like it doesn't matter, but you kind of knew in your kishkas, as my people say. I don't know, what do your people say? Like in your guts, like in your guts.
There you go.
That they're not marriage material,
okay.
Or like lifelong mate material. They might be like, roll in the hay material, but not like, yes, that's like lifelong partner. And what Imago would say is that's not an Imago match. There isn't enough of the kind of like, I'm smelling something familiar. It could be familiar good, familiar bad. In fact, the theory actually says that it's like the sensing something kind of like that's going to be maybe painful with you, like an old pattern that I thought I was getting away from actually draws us to someone. So we're drawn to someone who has some kind of smell of the familiar, something that reminds us consciously but largely subconsciously about some of the pain and the conflict that we come from. And that's who we want to be with. Why do you think?
So do you think then that we were attracted to people to resolve issues that we have? In other words, that's the basis of relationship?
It's what I think, yes, and it's what Freud thought.
From my personal experience, it seems to be what happens, that we're attracted to people, and what appeals to us physically also then ends up bringing up the things in our lives that we seem to need to heal or work on.
Beautiful. I mean, most of us lead with at least an initial physical attraction, but even that can have wrapped up in it imago, meaning maybe subconsciously you remind me of my dad, or maybe subconsciously you remind me of my mom. It's not gender specific, or maybe there's something about your look that's familiar to me, like it even can be wrapped up in that. And there's also just like, no, I like this, I like that, fine, but then the personality the conflicts that develop in the relationship are going to be opportunities for growth.
I'm just
Like you said,
I'm just curious.
to heal it.
In your experience, has the idea of a past life ever come up in the type of issues that people have to deal with?
You would lay that on me, live on the air.
No, you don't have to answer it if you
No,
don't
no,
feel
I'm
that
fine answering it. Not generally. That's
Okay.
not generally where I'm coming from, but I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not closed to it. It's not what I work with. It's not a tool I work with. But if a client was sharing that,
Right.
I could hold the space for that. It
Gotcha.
doesn't come up. It doesn't come up hard. Like, it would be the very rare client that might say, I think, in this issue, like there's an openness to include that. But it's not.
I
It's
mention it
nothing
mainly because
That's interesting.
many of the people that have been on my show are coming from a place where that sort of thing is considered
Yeah.
more common. Whether or not it's true or not, I mean,
It's very interesting, and I'm sure that it would make a lot of sense to me that past life and karma would also play out in who we're attracting.
yeah.
I mean, why that would make sense to me, but that's not, like I said, what I'm working with mostly with my clients. But I'm not, that's an interesting line of you could take it down that road.
Okay.
Why not? But we're working with mostly memories and experiences and patterns from childhood.
Yeah.
From the family of origin, as we say. And it's really amazing. I've been doing this work for 10 years, and, even some of the staunchest clients where it's like, I don't have a childhood. I never had, I never had it, there'll still be these aha moments where it's like, oh, that might have some connection with, do you notice the similarity to your wife's complaint? It's usually the guy. Sorry, it's usually the guy who's like, this has nothing to do with my childhood. It's true. It's usually the guy. Not always, but and not all guys are like that. But it's just, but it's like, do you think there's, like we start to make the ahas between the wife's pain or the husband's pain, the partner's pain,
Right.
and something that looks like it might be reenacting, getting reactivated between the two people. And yes, the theory of Imago believes, so we have this image, so we attract someone who has some of the stuff we really like that's familiar, but also who has some of the stuff that's going to kick up what's unresolved in us to give us an opportunity to heal and grow through using the relationship to heal and grow through that. The sad part is most couples don't get to that point. They just stay in the power struggle, and they stay in the blame, and they either live their lives miserable to the grave, or there isn't relief until one dies, or they live silent, the distanced relationship. They just kind of go into their corners, or they fight and scream forever, or they find some kind of way to make peace, or they divorce, or they split up, right? So, our work in Courageous Loving and with Imago relationship therapy is to help people wake up and get conscious. I mean, Harville Hendrix calls it the conscious relationship, so I'm yammering on. I can go on and on and on and on.
That's what we have. That's the point of this. So you call it the relationship miracle.
Yes.
Is that a specific form of it that you're involved with, or is that just the way you feel about it?
Now I'm going to have my tea.
That's great.
That's awesome. It is the way we feel about it. So Courageous Loving, excuse me, folks, I'm getting over a cold. Courageous Loving is the name of our practice. The Relationship Miracle is the name of our event. We may, it's also the name of, an epiphany you're welcome to have whenever you have it, but we call our monthly event the Relationship Miracle. And we believe Imago Dialogue is and creates a relationship miracle. So this event that we're doing tomorrow night, that I'll talk more about later, we call the Relationship Miracle, just,
And because it's monthly, obviously, if you're seeing this some time from now on YouTube, please go to Amy's site and see where she might be doing it, because it would be great.
Yeah, and it might not always be monthly. It might turn to quarterly. We're not sure, so just stay in touch at courageousloving.com.
Yeah.
I'll say that a few times before we're done here.
That's perfectly fine.
But this thing about Imago, so Imago is a theory. So I explain, a pistachio nutshell. That's what I say to my clients. I just gave you a pistachio nutshell version of the theory, just that there's a reason why we attract who we attract. It's not an accident. Even Imago can even show up in arranged marriages. But if you fell in love, or even if you kind of fell in love, there's Imago there. There's a little hair of the dog. There's a little something going on there. So there's a theory about that, and then so practical. How to use this. How to use it, Imago Dialogue. So it's a structured format, which we'll demonstrate for you guys later.
Absolutely.
That helps get to the root of it all, and helps. It's really kind of like a meditation That's one of the things I really love about it, that it's just helping two people get really present. Just really present to each other non-reactively.
What brought you to this form of relationship therapy? Because I'm sure you didn't start out this
Yeah,
way.
no, it's a great question. So I got my master's in family systems counseling in Seattle, Washington, and I started to just, had a couple jobs out of graduate school working at rehabs, with teenage chemically
Wow.
dependent girls, and worked locally in a recovery center, and with, some, like, it's sort of like the in the trenches, you pay your dues jobs out of graduate school. I worked with severe and persistently mental ill folks for a while. So it's like, okay, I had enough of my in the trenches. I wanted to start a private practice. I always knew I wanted to be in private practice. And I just started seeing, individuals and couples and families using what I knew from family systems training, which was very compatible with Imago. But I was very hungry to do more postgraduate training. And it had been mentioned in graduate school, Harville Hendrix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had mentioned it, and we had I had one lesson on it. And I was like, oh, and it kind of went to a shelf, And then when I was in my internship, it just so happens that my supervisor at my site was an Imago therapist, but she didn't really teach it to me,
Right.
if you're watching. And so that kind of went to a shelf. And a couple of years later, I had the book on my shelf, Getting the Love You Want, and one day, about 8 years ago or more, when I first moved to this area, I picked the book off the shelf and I read it, and I was riveted. I mean, I can't recommend the book more. Getting the Love You Want. I read it, I just couldn't put it down. I've read it like 3 times in 3 different highlighters, and my joke is I should just highlight the one sentence in the book I don't want to highlight, and consider the rest of the book highlighted.
So they have each color dated? So
yeah, right. I'm a little obsessive that way. But, and the book just won me over, and Michael really likes the story, actually, my partner, Michael, that we were literally in a Boston Chicken, free plug for Boston Chicken, not Boston Market. He always calls it Boston Chicken, Boston Market, when I had Getting the Love You Want, like 3 books. We had been to Barnes and Noble, and I was like, which postgraduate training do you think I should do? And he saw on the front of Harville of Getting the Love You Want, as seen on Oprah, and he was like, go with Oprah. We love Oprah. That was, but it wasn't the only reason. But he said, go with Oprah, and he was on Oprah 17 times. Harville Hendrix was one of her favorite relationship experts during her run. So I found a trainer in the city, and I've never turned back. That was about 7 years ago, and I'm a zealot. I'm a card-carrying Imago Dialogue believer, as you said in the beautiful introduction for us. I believe in the power of Imago Dialogue because I live it. Michael and I dialogue all the time.
So did you introduce it to Michael then, or was he already aware of it?
I introduced it to Michael, and he got really into it himself. In fact, I had to do, you have to do the Imago Couples Weekend Intensive before you start your training. And you have to bring your partner if you have one, or a friend if you don't. And so it was actually upon his return from Japan. He's writing a book about his trip to Japan. And right when he came home, I said, I'm going to be an Imago relationship therapist. We have to go do this couples weekend in 2 weeks or whatever it was. And so he had to do the whole intensive weekend with me. So we were trained to use Dialog, and we started using it right away. And then he became trained. He did the full clinical training too.
Amazing.
We believe, because we practice it. And it saved our marriage, to say 10 times over is...
Well, you said something earlier, and I just want to go back to it before we actually get into the dialogue.
Yeah.
You mentioned that couples seem to take the way out, or they get stuck, or they don't seem to pursue the possibility of healing the relationship. And I'm curious as to how much society plays into that at this point. It seems like when our parents were growing up, those kinds of options you kind of stuck with it. Now maybe they didn't stick with it in a healthy kind of way,
Right.
but they didn't take the immediate easy way out and just quit and then bring all their baggage to the next person they get involved with. And do you feel it or see that at all? In a modern sense?
I have, sure, plenty of things to say about this. These are great things that you're bringing up. First, I want to say that depending on the era, 2 generations ago, there was more of that. 2 generations and more. And I'm 45, my mom had me when she was 39, so my mother's old enough to be my grandma, so it's a little, she's kind of 2 generations older than,
Right.
But, So that was more common, more like in the 50s and into the 60s. Of course, like people were still, that was like still the main,
That's
the
right.
main thing. Then it was like,
Father
the
knows best.
60s,
It was a
right,
father knows best.
right. I mean, look at TV. And then one day at a time, and all the, Alice, the divorced moms in the 70s.
Right.
So that's when like all divorce was all the rage in the 70s. It's when my parents got divorced. So it became more socially, societally acceptable. And that's when you started to see more of the beginning of the people literally saying that they remember walking down the aisle saying, I can always get divorced. I mean,
right,
I mean, literally, like I just met someone the other day that said, no, when I walked down the aisle, it was definitely there that if this doesn't work out,
then
I can
why
always get
bother?
divorced. I mean, the truth is we all know now that, of course, you can get divorced, but to have that on your mind walking down the aisle is a little bit kind of like, wake up. My partner, Michael, again, is fond of saying lately that he believes that if people were really married to themselves first, like really knew themselves, I mean, not that you're ever done doing your work,
Right.
but really much, much more in tune with themselves, marry themselves first before they got married, then he'd believe more in the institution of marriage if people were really, but the way it is now, people are getting married either as babies still or babies emotionally, spiritually, maybe older, maybe in their 30s, maybe in their 40s, but, like not knowing who they are and, about their own reactivity and, and then the power struggle hits. Okay, so here we are, the power struggle hits, and now it's you. No, it's you. And we're in the blame game, and we're in the power struggle, and we're totally unconscious when we're there. And and then they find me. And that's when I meet the couple. 6 years later on average.
But at least they come. In other words, they've gotten to the point
It's a
where at least
minority.
they acknowledge that they want to do something, and so they seek you.
At least the ones who come.
Yeah.
At least the ones who come. And when they do come, if they really are willing to stick around a little bit, not forever, and do some serious work, at least with me, I can speak for my work and my husband. We do very powerful work. We, either save the marriage. Yes, I mean, marriages have been saved in our care. I mean, yeah, we're not like, you must save your marriage. I mean, we're not,
Right, sure.
but yeah, marriages have been saved. I've been told that, testimonials from clients. And we've also helped some people go their separate ways consciously with
because
love.
it's the best thing to do.
Sometimes it's the best thing to do. Sometimes it just has to happen. But
Right.
you can do it with maturity, and consciousness, and not, especially with children, not so destructively. So that's part of our work too, is helping people know when it's time
Right.
to go and how to do that consciously for the brave ones who stick around to do that.
But what I'm trying to do with my show is
Yeah.
for people like yourself to come and raise awareness of all different tools that are out there for
Yeah.
people that want to grow, either on the emotional level, the personal level, or spiritual level. And so I think it's fabulous that you're here. And when I first had the opportunity to see what you were doing and experience it through a small demonstration,
Yeah.
what I found so impressive to me is just the mindset that it creates. It's sort of like, even if you aren't in a relationship, a romantic relationship, the idea of using and staying open to trying to find out what another person wants, what the questions are. I think that is usable on every level, every personal level, whether you're in business. I mean, if you know and have an awareness of just how to communicate in a healthy way when you're at work,
Totally. Totally.
or with your friends,
Right.
or when you're on the street and you're shopping.
See, this is why, Al, that I belong on your show along with all of your other metaphysical guests and all these other I know you're going to have lots of different kinds of guests, and you have it lots, but because it ultimately is spiritual work. I mean, the bridge of truth. Imago is spiritual work because it's ultimately about peeling away the BS, folks, and getting really present through the dialogue process, which is like a meditation with words. It's like a conversational meditation, really. And Harville Hendrix and Helen think of it that way. That you get in a zone where you're just being present and you're managing whatever's coming up that blocks you from being present, like your own emotional reactivity, and you just get real. So getting present and being able to make the person who's communicating with you feel really heard and really get that you're present, whether they're getting it consciously or subconsciously, like where is that not useful? Parenting, work, friends, family, intimate relationships. It's just about cultivating presence. It really is a spiritual journey. So Imago Dialogue, yes. Is it going to help a couple do conflict resolution better? Absolutely, it's a great tool for that. Is it going to help a couple just learn how to communicate better? I mean, everyone comes in saying we have communication problems, we have communication problems, we have communication problems. Yes, but what does that mean? What do communication problems mean, folks? What does it mean? Everyone says it. Communication problem. What does it mean? It means we're not being present.
Okay.
We're unconscious. Like what? Right? I mean,
No,
like,
because I would imagine it would mean different things to different people. Actually,
but really, what does it all come down to?
not being heard.
Not being heard, being reactive, right? It's good. Yeah, sure. So, like, I might say, "You never listen to me," and you might say, "You never shut up." We have a communication problem. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, we're missing each other. I'm not reading your signals. I'm not knowing your sensitivities. I'm not using an approach that works better for you. You're getting reactive. You're going into a place in your head that takes you away from it. We're both doing this.
Yeah.
We're just an unconscious.
And it isn't like
For everyone.
It isn't like we're taking the men are from Mars, women from Venus approach, where different men and women approach things differently.
We do.
It's like, well, yes, but at the same time,
That.
you ultimately both people have to want to participate.
Right. You bring up such good things. You are in your right calling, being an interviewer.
I appreciate that.
We absolutely incorporate some of the differences, just an awareness of some things that might be playing out. There is a difference in men and women, but yes, it is ultimately more. Okay, so feminine, masculine, these are loaded words, folks, right? Like, but what, yin yang, okay? It is more yin in that that's feminine, right? It's more,
Yes.
it's the more right brain, I guess, right? Feelings.
I believe so.
Communicating about feelings, emotions. Sure, there's plenty of people that would say, well, that's kind of a more feminine approach, okay, to sit down and dialogue, and we're going to talk about feelings. But ultimately, I've had a lot of clients where the men end up really digging the structure, really liking that there are rules. There's rules. So it really is kind of a blend of both. Yeah. So it really is a nice blend of both. And yes, both people have to be willing to do the work. Male, female, same-sex relationships, it doesn't matter. That's interesting.
And
interesting
actually,
things come up with that.
The spiritual journey oftentimes is about finding the balance between your masculine and feminine sides.
Exactly.
For the man to accept his feminine side and the woman to accept her masculine side.
Exactly. And so both with process and content. The process can help each person embrace the places that might be underdeveloped just by doing the process, just like and then the content, a couple can work through getting more conscious about how that male-female gender roles are certainly one of the things that comes up as conflict between couples.
Right.
So it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, speaking of cool stuff,
Yeah.
we're going to do a dialogue, and then afterwards, hopefully, if we have some questions, we'll address them as best we can.
I'd be happy to answer questions. In fact, at the Relationship Miracle, this monthly event that we do, Michael and I demonstrate a dialogue, and then we answer questions, and the questions bring out such rich. I mean, you saw, I don't remember which one you were at, but every single one we've ever done, the questions bring out rich nuances of the process and the theory. It's great. We love questions. So I want to say just a little bit about dialogue before we actually demonstrate it. Okay. So what you are about to see is a demonstration of Imago Dialogue. Okay. And when we say dialogue in Imago land, we mean dialogue with a capital D, not like just it's an English word. It can mean a lot of different things. In the world of Imago, it means there are rules, and there's a structure, and there's a way to do it. It's simple, but not always easy, right? So, and Al, this will be his first time in an Imago Dialogue. I'm de-virginizing him tonight.
I'm a bit nervous about it. I told her not to put me on the spot, but we'll see what happens.
Michael was maybe hopefully going to be here, but he's at an open circle for his men's group tonight. And I said, that's okay, I'll do a dialogue with you. And he was like, okay, here we are. So what I wanted to say is, but you went to the Relationship Miracle where Michael and I demonstrate a dialogue, and so you've seen dialogue, so you know what mirroring is.
Well, that's how I knew that I really felt that you should be on my show, because I actually did see it, and that's what made me think that it was an important technique, or at least a point of view that people should be aware of.
And I really appreciate that. I mean, when we talked, we chatted at the end, almost at the end of the show, at the end of the event, and you invited me to, that was a few months ago.
Yeah, quite some time.
Yeah,
It just
but
took,
we're
took that
here,
long
and
to finally do
it
this.
really meant a lot to me that you came,
Mm.
that you came and checked us out. It means so much to us when colleagues come. We have clients come to the Relationship Miracle, former clients, prospective clients, strangers who just found out about it through the internet, and and friends and colleagues also come to just check us out to say, well, who are these people? Like if I were going to refer,
Right.
a precious patient, like for doctors or lawyers or, these people that we network with, chiropractors and massage therapists. So anyone is welcome to come. You can come alone. I'll do the plug later for the show.
And it's a whole new level of training that somebody in your
Yeah.
profession has to undergo in order to be able to do it.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
Like
and
what
we
you
let some
were saying.
therapists come because a lot of therapists. So it meant so much to me that you came to the Relationship Miracle, and it's so nice to be here now so you know what I'm talking about, like you actually
Right.
experienced it yourself. So mirroring, you are just going to say back whatever I say to you. So in Imago Dialogue, there's a sender and there's a receiver. And there's sender responsibility and receiver responsibility. And it was very much about, in Buddhism they say right speech.
Right.
This is right speech. I can say whatever it is I have to say, but I can say it with right speech. But we're not going to be working out an issue in that kind of dialogue. I have no relationship issues with Al yet, but hopefully this is the beginning of a long relationship, and maybe we'll have some issues we'll need to work
Let's
out in
hope not.
Imago Dialogue
No, let's
later
hope
on.
not.
Well, Imago Dialogue is great. Look, so we're going to be doing something called the Imago Appreciation Dialogue. I'm going to be the sender, Al is going to be the receiver, and I'm going to be giving him an appreciation. So it's nice. But it's interesting. We'll see how well, viewers, how well Al can really take in the
appreciation.
the appreciation, because I've even had couples, I'm not saying this is going to happen, I've even had couples sometimes have an argument, have a fight, and have a really difficult time staying present in the appreciation dialogue. And that just tells you how much pain that there is, that like they can't even handle, hearing something good. They can't even believe
Wow.
it or accept it. Yeah, that's a lot of pain. But we work through it. So we're going to do an appreciation dialogue, but I just always want my audiences to know, before I ever demonstrate Imago Dialogue, lest I, cheapen it, in any way. God, forgive me, Harville, Helen, that it looks simple, but when you really, and you can try this at home. I do recommend, after you've seen this, watch it and do try this at home, kids. But it's a structure and it's a process, and there's deep meaning to it. And this work's been around over 30 years, and it really can actually create tremendous healing between two people, not just in the appreciation dialogue, but when you dialogue about other things. There's other steps. It's a longer process, and it can wrap its arms around anything any two people need to say to each other. Anything. So it's quite profound. We're going to keep it a little lighter, but it'll still be profound because we'll make it profound. So we're going to do an Imago Dialogue, and you're just going to say back what you hear me saying, and the mirroring is then you say, did I get it? Even if you know you got it. Even if it was one word.
I say.
You say, did I get it?
Did I get it?
And I say, yes. Or, well, you kind of got it. Let me resend it. You never say, no. You're not mean. And you say, did I get it? And then when I say yes, or mostly, let me just add this piece, you missed this piece, and you re-mirror it, and then you say, is there more? Not, is that all? Is there anything else? Can we go now? Is there
Gotcha.
more? Which is never pressure to say more. It's just an invitation to see if there's more. And it's one of the beautiful nuances of Imago Dialogue that you might think you're done, but when you start trusting, when the dialogue is flowing, you might uncover something more that you have to say that you probably would not have without the process.
And that might be one of the most difficult questions for a person to say, is there more?
Right.
When hearing things
when
that
maybe they
wanna
don't want to hear it.
Right.
Right. It's sensitivity training on top of everything else, too. Okay, good. So, and I'll help you.
Great.
Okay, you're like my client right now. He's not, folks. But like I would, if I was doing a dialogue with a client, I would just coach them through it, right? So Al, you always make an appointment. Al, I'd like to have an appreciation dialogue with you right now. Are you available?
I'm available.
Thank you for being available. So something I appreciate about you are the directions that you gave me to get to your studio today. You're going to say that back.
Something you appreciate about me are the directions that I gave you to get to the studio today. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Yes.
I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
Appreciation.
I have a
is good.
sensitivity around directions.
Okay. Oh,
We're in dialogue, baby. How easy we forget.
I have a You have a sensitivity around directions. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Yes. I really, really appreciate good directions.
You really, really appreciate good directions. Did I get it? Is there more?
I get irked by bad directions. Sorry.
You get irked by bad direction. I could tell how irked you get.
You can tell?
Yes, by bad directions. Did I get it? I'm so glad I gave you good directions.
Yes.
Did I get? Okay. Is
Yes.
there more?
Am I scary?
No.
I'm not scary. A little bit more. I'm going on longer than we normally would have because we're just having fun here. I was hoping they would be good directions.
You were hoping they would be good directions. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
They were kind of guy directions. Speaking of Mars, Venus,
Okay.
they were a little Mars leaning.
There were a little Mars leaning. I wish I could just ask you why.
I will. I'll tell you.
Okay. There were a little Mars leaning. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Just only in that women tend to sort of like embellish a little more. Like we decorate more.
Okay.
So we go, oh, there's going to be a this on the left, and there's going to be this on the right, and that's going to be about 2.5 miles, and then there's going to be a this, and so there was less of those like butterflies flying around.
Okay. So there was less butterflies flying around. Did I get it?
Oh, you got to do the other. Women tend to. You got to do the whole thing.
I tried. I got lost. Okay. Women tend to embellish more. They put this in and that in, and there's more butterflies flying around.
You got it.
Okay. Is there more?
So in that, it was a little Venus leaning, but they worked, and I got here.
Excellent.
And I followed your train of thought.
Excellent.
Mirror.
And you got here, and you followed my train of thought. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Okay. So I'm totally cheating because I'm just having fun. You really just say 1 or 2 sentences. I just said like 8. So now the next part is what that gives me. What that gives me.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a sandwich. I say it's like the bread, and now I'm going into like, it's not really like the meat, like it's more. It's just layers. It's 1, 2, 3. Step 1, 2, 3. What I appreciate and more detail, I just had fun adding a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Now, what that gives me. This is where we go into the heart, like really go even deeper.
So in other words, we've now ended the point where if I say, is there more, and you say no.
Right, but we're still in the appreciation dialogue.
Okay.
We're still in it. What that gave me was a feeling of connectedness to you.
What that gave you was a feeling of connectedness to me. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Yes. I am actually, my intellectual side is very active. Like, I'm not going to say I'm fully intellectualized, I'm working on becoming more down here, but like my intellectual side is it's very active. I like to intellectually connect with people, just mirror that. I really like to intellectually connect with people.
You really like to intellectually connect with people.
Yeah.
Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
So what it gave me was a feeling of a kind of connection with you, like, yes, I get where he's going because it's working for me.
So what it gave you was an idea that you were connecting with me, that you get it. I think.
Connecting with you intellectually.
Okay, connecting with me intellectually. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Not to that piece.
Okay.
Now I go in the last part, well, not the last part, second to last part, is I go into the feelings.
Oh.
And I just name feelings. And that made me feel satisfied, taken care of, and connected.
That made you feel satisfied, taken care of, and connected. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
And at this part, you just say, are there any other feelings?
Okay. Are there any other feelings?
Just appreciative. Relieved.
Okay.
Relieved.
Relieved. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more? Or are there any other feelings?
Good job. He's good. No, thank you for receiving my appreciation.
You're welcome. Oh, okay.
I always notice who people either. It's
So what I have to say is, did I get it?
So I'm saying thank you for receiving me. It's so lovely in Imago that we say thank you for receiving me. And now I ask you, what touched you about that? So we go even deeper, always connecting. And I'll mirror your response and then we'll be done. What touched you about that?
You mean about your initial point about the directions?
About anything I just said since we started the appreciation dialogue, any of it.
What touched me was that you gave it my directions thought and that it mattered to you.
I felt that. What touched you was that I gave your directions thought and that it mattered to me. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
No, that's good. Wow.
End of dialogue. It's my little, where do I hold this? Tibetan singing bowl.
That's wonderful.
And why do we do that? Why do we ring a bell? It's like the end of a meditation. We make the appointment. Are you available? We don't assume. Knock, knock. Are you available for this? Consciousness.
Right.
Are you available for this conversation? Eye contact before you throw la pelota, right? And then the nice bell at the end. It's like meditation over. It's sort of like at ease, but not like we were. But it's like, okay, we are outside of the sacred circle now. It really is like casting a sacred circle, and now we're outside of the sacred circle. So now I want to ask you, how was that for you? Now I'm interviewing you. How was that for you?
It was great. And if we had the time and we're going to pursue it where I was on the giving end,
Yeah.
and I wanted to take it down that same path, I would thank you for being here on time.
Oh, yeah, right. So you could do a whole appreciation dialogue, because I was
Exactly.
really early, actually.
Yeah.
So you could do a whole thing about what that, I don't know what that did for you, like
Well,
if that made you feel
it-
respected or if it made you
It
feel
makes me
relaxed.
feel, yes, because so much of the tension of this show is making sure that it gets done and people
Right.
show up and everything's on time and the equipment is working. So to have you here takes that much pressure off me. So I'm giving you a condensed version of my own appreciation.
It's
for it.
beautiful. So you know what? I'm gonna mirror that in summary. So you're actually appreciating me. I'm just slipping right into dialogue. So you're appreciating me for being here on time. A large part of the show is just making sure that it happens, that it gets done, and to have me here just is relieving to you and just takes part of that. You don't have to worry about that. I think I added something, but did I get? Is that an accurate summary?
You got it.
Go ahead. Add a couple feelings,
Feelings?
or what that gives you. You said what it gives you. It makes you
I
you're
did.
able to relax.
I
Any
kinda gave you the
feelings?
whole thing,
You
yeah,
kind of gave me the
sure.
whole thing. So that's like so yes, in a full appreciation, a full Imago appreciation dialogue, you would now say, I have an appreciation for you. It was so
Exactly.
natural. You were ripe and ready. You would say, I have an appreciation for you. Are you ready for yours? And I would
Right.
say yes, and we would do the whole thing. You can do it one way, but I tell my people, really more often than not, you want to have it be a given that when you sit down, you know it's going to be two-way, because you could just start repeating another whole pattern in the relationship with it. Like, well, I gave you 3 and you only gave me 1, and
Right,
believe me,
sure,
I've heard it all.
absolutely.
And I know it's coming from a painful place. So the homework I give is sit down, and it's a given that it's going to be two-way. But for the show, we didn't need to do that. So it was
Right.
good. So but how was doing the dialogue? How was it to do it for you?
It was fine, and the reason I jumped in as I did at the end and kind of condensed it was because, again, it doesn't always for me have to be a structured thing where you go through life just with this as a mindset in terms of your normal everyday
Right.
interactions with people.
Harville Hendrix calls it becoming dialogical. I say not diabolical. So you do the dialogue enough times. It's not that you can drop the script. I mean, I suppose you can if you want to.
No,
Michael and I
informal,
don't.
obviously.
Right, but you're not always with a willing dialogue partner, you know.
Sure.
And sometimes you want to be able to use these tools with anyone. And so you kind of become dialogical, the way, meaning you use the tools all the time. But you still haven't told me what. I feel like there's more. Like, was it comfortable? Was it easy
Okay.
to mirror? Like, how was it to actually do the dialogue?
Because this was my second time, I was a little bit familiar with it, so it wasn't difficult for me.
Cool. The mirroring was comfortable.
And actually, I prefer it when there are more sentences that are shorter, and maybe this is the masculine thing, only because I like the idea of a concise thought, and then we take it to the next thought,
Yeah.
and the next thought. If the sentences become too long or there's too much going on, I can't remember.
Right. That's why we chunk it down. Occasionally someone will really have a problem with it because they need to, like, they can't
have a
think in
lot
one
in there.
sentence chunks, and they have to get a
Yes.
lot out. And we there's ways of working with that. So there's ways of working with that, but we also, it's a training. It's a training, and it is a skill
'Cause I would
acquisition.
imagine it would make it
to learn
difficult
how to
for
do
the
it.
recipient at that point to
Oh,
even
yeah.
follow.
Right. And that's, I say, look, folks, I get that sometimes this might be frustrating. I've heard all the adjectives when people are first introduced to this. Maybe some viewers are thinking, oh, this is stilted, contrived, wooden, inorganic, unnatural, robotic, contrived. I've heard, like, I've heard it all.
Sure.
And what I say is, yeah, it might seem like that at first. It might feel like that, but try it. And after you do it a few times, even if it still feels unnatural, you get to a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The air at the end of a dialogue is different than the air in the beginning. Like, I didn't know if I was going to appreciate you for that or just for having me, which I'm very appreciative, by the way. Thank you for having me. But I chose that because it just felt like it had more, like, yumminess to it. But I didn't know that by the end, I didn't know I would feel. I didn't know what I was gonna say. I didn't know that I was going to talk about feeling intellectually connected with you.
Yeah.
And that by the end of the dialogue, I actually felt very connected with you, and I felt you were very present. So that's the difference. I mean, people watching, like, this is total. When we were doing dialogue, it was like, I felt your presence, and that's what it does. So imagine if we were married, say, and we were talking about...
And you people can't even look at each other.
Yeah.
Or with any kind of love.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is very useful to help calm things down.
I really give you a lot of credit for the profession that you're in. Because I can imagine how difficult it must be.
It's intense.
Yeah.
It's often pretty intense in different ways. Sometimes it's intense because there's a lot of charge energy, anger energy. Sometimes it's intense because it's like cold, iceberg, detachment. That's harder. That's harder to work with.
Wow.
Than the kind of like the Italians, the Jews, like the yellers, rather than the, I'm just
Well, those are the two different ways of dealing with things. Right. Either in a very fiery, active, in a confrontational way, or in a separation kind of a way.
Totally. I mean, I teach my clients, and I work on myself, that there's two sides to reactivity. One is getting bigger, taking up more space. Anger is an example of that, but it's not the only example. Like getting needier or bigger, like just bigger. And the other face of reactivity is smaller, withdrawing, shutting down, going numb, checking out. And usually there's one person, each member of the couple usually has a stronger tendency toward one of those two, polarities. And then they dance in a choreography from hell together with that.
So my last question, because you just brought it up.
Yeah.
What happens then if one person is that confrontational kind of person, the other person is the cold person? I mean, how do they even... I would imagine it would be like a vicious cycle.
Well,
one person to get more intense and
right.
the other person would get more withdrawn.
Right. And that's when they come into me.
Yeah.
By the way, couples tend to wait 6 years past a problem being serious or something like that. Statistics from John Gottman before they come into couples therapy. So, you got to look at what we're given to work with. But and we have to just slow down and break that cycle. We just intervene. It's an intervention. I mean, it really is like a crisis. It's like, remember, intervening on, an addiction cycle that's gone out of control. It's like, let's just stop and slow this baby down and see what's going on here. And we go into childhood. We do, where some of these defensive, reflexes coming from. And we work hard on turning around those polarities. Okay, this is the part where I yell, and this is the part where you run away and cry, and then we don't talk for 3 days. We work on stopping these painful cycles.
The other thing that I appreciate about your method is it seems like sometimes when people talk about being in therapy, it's sort of like the endless trip to whereas you're really focused on a conclusion, on helping people to get to the point where they need you no more.
Thank you, Al. Yeah, we do things differently than most counselors. We have programs, and we call it relationship training. It's like, you you signed up for the class, you come for the training. It's X amount. It's either, people. We could talk about that, like if people, come in, they call, to come in for counseling. But it's time limited programs, either intensives or slightly longer, and it doesn't go on forever. And it's because there's a goal in sight, and it's a training, and there's homework, and I don't mess around. And some couples need a little more time. And that's okay. I don't kick people out, but it's a training, and you're here to acquire the skills. It's not just like, well, let's talk about it for another year.
Because they may go home and it may not be working yet, and they shouldn't feel frustrated that they didn't get it the first time.
Right. It's skill acquisition. I am training people to use these skills so they can have it forever. It's like give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. We're training people to use Imago Dialogue on their own and some of the other things we teach, so you have those tools forever.
Wonderful.
So it's kind of feeling like a place to pause, yeah, and just talk about
Well,
our event.
yes, as a matter of fact, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up, I wanted to give you the opportunity to let our viewers know what's happening and what you're going to be doing in the future.
Yeah, well, Michael and I have done an event called The Relationship Miracle for the past year and a half. We have been doing it at a yoga studio in Nyack, New York. And tomorrow night, Monday, August 13th at 7 o'clock, is the first time we've changed the location, and we're doing it in our home. And I'm not going to say the address here, but you can go to our website, courageousloving.com. Don't forget the E after the G. And we're gonna try doing this event in our large. We have a very large living room, and we can accommodate a nice crowd. And we're gonna do this, the relationship miracle. It's a demonstration between Michael and myself of a fuller Imago dialogue with more steps than what you saw us do about a real issue in our marriage, unrehearsed. And the time,
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, like this was unrehearsed. Like this was, you didn't know what this was
No.
completely live,
But
right?
you're going to be really open in terms of dealing
Yeah.
with something that's sensitive, perhaps.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, you saw it too. Do you remember what the topic was when
No.
you came? We choose a different topic every month. This month it's money. We do it about 3 or 4 times a year. Because guess why? Because no one has issues with money. So few people can
Right.
relate.
Yeah.
But we do a real. All we know going in is who's going to send first, and we've developed a trust that we're not going to throw each other under the bus in some crazy, embarrassing way. But we do keep it edgy enough that it's people get like, oh, they're really working out a real issue. Like this is not rehearsed, like they said. And we then answer questions. So it's a demonstration. And we answer questions and we serve a snack. It's nice. It's a really cool event. The Relationship Miracle, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Go to courageousloving.com for information on that. And we've been doing it the second Monday night of every month. We'll see what happens. But we also may have other things coming up. Like, we used to do teleclasses, and Michael did a whole bunch of teleseminars. I mean, we don't have anything slated right now, but stay tuned.
Wonderful.
And may I mention, I've started, you heard me say that this is like meditation. Harville and Helen really, I was on a conference call once with them and a whole bunch of other Imago therapists in which I heard them say that they actually would love to do research. They've done research where they hook people up to the brain while
Really?
they're
Okay.
like master meditators, and they study the brain waves, and the brain waves have actually changed.
I've participated in one of those for
You
Joe
did?
Ray. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness! When you were meditating?
Yeah, it was in practicing Joe Ray, which is an energy healing therapy. And
Okay.
they were able to actually see that when the energy was being exchanged, the brain waves changed. And we had
Wow.
a machine set up, and it was quite an amazing demonstration.
That's so cool. So, same kind of idea, that it is a meditation when you're practiced in it enough and you enter the zone, especially with your partner, and you're talking about a topic that could get charged, but you're really, it's like literally you could feel your heart expanding, your capacity to feel compassion, you could feel yourself growing up emotionally in the middle of a dialogue. It's awesome. So, but this thing about meditation, I've gotten into actually, my Zen interests and my interests in Buddha-like things, and I've also started this new thing called BuddhaBunkers.com, so you could check that out. I'm not going to say more about it. It's just fun. It's fun, Zen stuff of all kinds. BuddhaBunkers.com. So we really believe that it's helping people get that kind of conscious presence that meditation is helping people achieve, that dialogue can help people achieve, whatever works. But couples really need something to just zen out, man, and like just get present to each other without all this crazy reactivity that just takes us out. It knocks us off our seat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if you see this on YouTube, I'm going to have the links there under the show description, so it'll be very easy for you to get to Amy's sites.
Right.
It's been wonderful having you here.
Was it fun? I said we're going to have fun, right?
Yeah, this was great. This was
Yeah.
really amazing. And I want to thank my viewers for watching,
Yeah.
and especially if you've enjoyed our show and you like what we're trying to do here, to bring positive information and bring a little more love and light into the world. Please let your friends know. Post us on Facebook. Tweet about us. Do whatever you can to spread the message so we can get. We can have a positive impact on the world.
Thank you, Al. Really, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I love this. I love what you're doing. It's fantastic. I support you 100%.
Appreciate that.
Thanks.
So in closing then, may all your journeys be truthful to the next time we meet on the Bridge of Truth.